grade 11, September 2025 common test from KwaZulu-Natal province. So this is the recently written question paper. So in terms of our structures of information, we are given that section A is compulsory, which means we have to answer every question that we have in section A. Section B consists of 3 questions, and we have to answer any 2 of the 3 questions. Then section C is got 2 questions, and we have to answer 1. So we take note of that part. And of course, in terms of our first part of section A, we're going to start with question 1, which is on multiple choice section. The first question that we have reads: a bank dash is when a bank allows a business to take out more than it has in its bank account. So when you have such a scenario whereby you are allowed to take more than what is in your bank account, we call it a bank overdraft. So we have overdraft B. So moving on to question 2. So question 2 reads: a dash presentation refers to the use of speech by the presenter to convey a message to stakeholders. So obviously now the key word that we have is speech. So by use of a speech, it means you are going to use words by word of mouth. So in that case, it becomes a verbal presentation. So we have verbal C. For number 3, a simple tool that lists all the activities that need to be done in the date order in which they will be completed is known as, of course, again, if you go to the sentence that we have, you'd see that there is a date order in which it is going to be completed. So that becomes a timeline. So we have timeline A. And number 4, a profitable business attracts more dash that can lead to the business expanding. Of course, if the business has to expand, it means there has to be a funding. So from the responses that we are given, the one that brings funding to the business, we have investors. Remember, investors are going to invest in the business, and obviously the investment comes with funding. So in that case, we have C as the correct answer, which is investors. Then we go to number 5. Tabo and Tembi had a disagreement which resulted in a or N dash between them. Of course, this is a disagreement. Obviously, this is coming from the basis of different views that Tabo and Tembi has. So in that case, it becomes a conflict. We have got a conflict. We have got A. Then we'll move on to the second part of our question, which is 1.2. You have to complete the following sentence by using the word or words in the list below. Of course, we've got the words as given. So first part, a dash is a plan of action that must be carried out by an entrepreneur. So obviously, it is a strategy. Remember, a strategy is a plan of action. So we have got strategy, 1.2.1. Of course, we have strategy on this part. So we are saying on that part, we have it as representing 1.2.1. Then we go to 1.2.2, a collection of pages arranged in a sequence that contain text and images for presenting to an audience is known as, of course, this is a text and images for presenting an audience. So the most appropriate that we have there is PowerPoint. Remember PowerPoint, it also presents a text and images. So we have 1.2.2. So moving on to 1.2.3, successful entrepreneurs are not afraid to take dash for their decisions and actions in their business. So this becomes a responsibility for their decisions and actions in their business, which is a responsibility which we have in this part. So we have 1.2.3. Then we move on to 1.2.4. Capital that is contributed by the owner is referred to as, obviously, this is equity. So we have equity capital is our 1.2.4. So move on to the next part, which is now lack of trust between the employees can cause conflict in the business. So this is lack of, according to responses given, we have teamwork, or lack of teamwork is the most appropriate. So we have teamwork. So this is 1 point, 2.5. So this is what we have according to our section A, and of course we take note our section A has got a total of 20 marks. So we move on to the next part, which is now as our section B. So our section B, we are going to start on question 2, which is on business ventures. So the first question reads, state 3 key success factors. State 3 key success factors. So from that sense, we'd see that the success factors that we have are obviously to list 3 of them. So we have sustainability, profitability, customer base, so a stable workforce, good leadership, market knowledge, strong customer base. Of course, we also have ethics, controls, and good governance, a stable workforce, a unique product or service. So the question only requires, according to the question, you see that it requires only 3. Take note of that. So we're only going to include three of them. Then we move on to the next part, 2.2. Read the scenario below and answer the question that follow. We're given a scenario of CS, a smoothie shop. So we go through the scenario, then beneath that, you're given the question part where it reads, identify one quality of an entrepreneur represented by Sia from the scenario above. Motivate your answer by quoting from the scenario. If you come on the sentence, it reads, instead of giving up, Sia asked for feedback and made improvements to the flavors and packaging. So you'd see that this is an indication of perseverance. So basically that's what we have. So we are saying showing perseverance is the quality that we have identified. And then in terms of motivation, we quote the sentence that we have, which reads, instead of giving up, Sia asked for feedback and made improvements to the flavors and packaging. So that's what we have for that part. Of course, if you refer back to the question, you see that the question only requires one quality of entrepreneur. But of course, we can also quote another part whereby we have also willpower to overcome obstacles, as highlighted on instead of giving up. Sia asked for feedback and made improvements to the flavors and packaging. So this is also willpower to overcome obstacles. So that is what we have on that part. So we move on to the next question. Explain any other 2 entrepreneurial qualities. So what are other qualities, of course, that we can also include that are also qualities of an entrepreneur? So we have got a desire for responsibility is one of them. Of course, explanation on desire for responsibility. So moving on, we'd see that we have got a continuation on explanation on desire for responsibility. We've got taking calculated risk is another responsibility, another quality of an entrepreneur. Another quality of entrepreneur. We've got also taking calculated risk. That is also is given an explanation on that. Going forward, we also have good management and leadership skills as one of the qualities also of an entrepreneur. And as well, the explanation we have beneath that. So with that, we go also to high levels of energy as also a quality of an entrepreneur. Of course, we do have a continuation in terms of qualities of entrepreneur, whereby we also have dreams with a clear vision. It's another quality. Confidence in one's ability to succeed, another quality of an entrepreneur. Flexibility, also as one of the qualities. Recognizing opportunities is another quality. Organizational skills, we have another quality. A passion, another quality. High degree of commitment, quality of an entrepreneur again. Product and customer focus, another quality of an entrepreneur. Being creative, also another quality of the entrepreneur. Of course, the question only requires two qualities. So for all the qualities that we have just mentioned, you can just choose two, which you can include on your answer section. 2.3, you discuss factors that the presenter must consider when preparing a presentation. So what are the factors that you have to take into consideration? So of course, you have to prepare for that presentation, and then you have to be clear about the purpose of the presentation. Write down an outline of the important information that needs to be shared with your audience. Ensure the main aim of the presentation is captured in your opening statement. Familiarize yourself with the content of the presentation to ensure a smooth flow of the presentation. Be familiar with the background of your audience so that your presentation speaks to their area of interest. Include simple language in your presentation. So these are some of the factors that has to be taken into consideration as you prepare for that presentation. So these are we've got a continuation of those factors to be taken into consideration. So with that, we move on to the next part of our question, which is now 2.4, recommend steps in report writing. So, of course, steps in report writing, define the purpose of the report and who will be reading it. Be aware of who the reader of the report will be. Do research in order to gather data and then plan the report structure. For example, title, contents, a page, introduction, body, and conclusion. Of course, we've got a continuation of the steps in report writing. And this marks at the end of our question 2. And of course, we need to move on to the next question, which is going to be our question 3. Question 3 is on business roles. And question 3.1, state any three causes of conflict in the workplace. And we know that conflicts these are disagreements that transpire between employees at a workplace. So these conflicts as disagreements. They can be disagreements on the basis of different views that these employees might have, which is leading to those disagreements, which lead to conflicts. So, what are the causes that we can deduce of conflicts? A lack of proper communication between leaders or management and members. So, if there's lack of communication, obviously we are going to have disagreements emanating from that. So, we also have the second one, differences in backgrounds, cultures, values, beliefs, and language. Of course, this leads to different ways of doing things, which is going to affect, if you've got a way of doing your things, which is going to affect another person, from that basis, it will lead to disagreement. So limited business resources also can lead to that as they fight for those resources. The limited resources, it means they are few, and the workers that are there or the employees that are there, obviously, they are going to scramble for the little resources that are there. And then from that, we are going to have an activation of disagreements, which will lead to conflicts. So we also have different goals, objectives for groups and individuals, unfair workload among the employees, personality differences between groups and individuals, different opinions and priorities between the employees. So these are some of the causes of conflict in the workplace. Of course, we've got a continuation in terms of other causes of conflicts that we might have at a workplace. So from there, we move on to the next question, 3.2. Read the scenario below and answer the question that follow. So we're given a scenario of plush advertisers, which you need to go through before going to the first part of the question. Identify the stage of team development from the scenario above. Motivate your answer by quoting from the scenario. 3.2.1, identify the stage of team development of the scenario above. Motivate your answer by quoting from the scenario. So, of course, we have to identify the stage of team development. So, team development is an intentional ongoing process by an organization or a business to improve the efficiency and progress of a team working together. So, we are seeing that when we are undertaking team development, we have got the element of working together towards a common goal or mission. So that is what we have. So in this case, teams come together, obviously, and organize themselves to achieve the objectives through uh, progressing tasks. So that is what we have under the team development. So we try to see which stage we have according to information given. So if you come on this sentence, it reads that the advertising team of PL is allowed to handle all decision-making process without supervision. So there is an element of team work that is coming in. So uh, at this stage, it is at the performing stage whereby the team begins to work together to make progress on planned tasks. So this comes as a stage when the team has accomplished all its goals. That is at the performing stage. So basically, we are saying the stage that is we have identified is at the performing stage. So we are saying performing stage, working as a team towards a goal, which is clearly indicated on the sentence that is part of the motivation. And the advertising team of PL is allowed to handle all decision-making process without supervision. So basically, that's what we have, which is indicated uh, in the sentence that we have on the spot. So we go to 3.2.2, explain the stage of team development identified in question 3.2.1. So 3.2.2 now needs a further explanation in terms of the performing stage. And of course, performing stage, team members are aware of strategies and aims of the team. They have direction without interference from the leader. Leaders delegate and oversee the process and the procedures, processes and structures are set. So these are the explanations that we have in terms of performing stage. So we go to the next sentence, the next question that we have, which reads, elaborate on the meaning of conflict management. So of course, the question requires us to explain on conflict management. And of course, we need to come up with a brief explanation in terms of conflict management. So, conflict management basically is the process of limiting the negative aspects of conflict while increasing the positive aspects of conflict in the workplace. So, that's the scenario that we have under conflict management. And we take conflict management as a set of techniques to identify and resolve conflict in the workplace. So, that is the explanation on conflict management. So, in terms of 3.4 now, advise businesses on the forming stage of team development. So, explanation in terms of the forming stage. We have the forming stage as the stage. This is the stage when team members get to know each other. So that is the forming stage. So it means it is in the initiation stages, and team members are aware of themselves in this stage. Team members show good behavior if they are new to the group. Team members plan their work and new roles. So that's what we have in terms of forming stage. And this marks the end of our question three. And our question three, obviously, has a total of 20, so a total of 16 marks. In this case, it is 16 marks. That is what we have in question three. So from there, we move on to the next question that we have according to our paper. Question four is on business ventures. So it reads, read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. You're given a scenario of smart print, so you need to go through information given on smart print. Then, of course, 4.1.1, identify two factors that smart print should consider before starting up. Motivate your answer by quoting from the scenario. So you're given a table on how to present in terms of the factor. You list the factor, then you write the motivation on the other column. So the factors, that's what print should consider before starting up. So if you come on this part, we have got businesses could use recycled printer cartridges and buy good quality used equipment. So you see that by using recycled printer cartridges, this is a matter of reducing the costs. So we have got cost saving as a factor that must be taken into consideration before startup. Cost saving on this part. Then, if you come on this sentence, on this point, it is change the market plan to accommodate customer needs. So, obviously, this is in terms of trying to fulfill the customer needs, and this is customer service as a factor. So basically, this is what we have on that part. So we have that also. Is mentioned in the other section where we have cost service, customer service, and the motivation on the other side. So this is what we have. We move on to the next question. Suggest to the business, suggest to the businesses the factors that influence the choice of funding. So what are the factors? So obviously there are factors that should influence a choice of funding. For example, the size of the business is going to also influence the choice of funding in terms of how big the funding you need is. Obviously, is going to contribute to the choice that you're going to make in terms of funding sources. So we have those factors that influence the choice of funding is influence the nature of finance. So some types of financing like shares and debentures are not available to certain forms of ownership like sole traders and partnerships. So obviously, this will be a limitation to sole traders and partnership. They cannot access those funding sources. We also have shares and debentures can only be issued by companies. Again, explanation on nature of finance. Also have the amount of capital needed also. So this depends also on the size of the business. The larger the amount of capital needed, the fewer options will be available. That is on the choice of when we are now considering the choice of funding and the amount of capital needed. If you need a big amount, obviously you are not going to go to the you are not going to opt for other funding sources. You are going to be confined to limited options. Then you go to a large amounts must be obtained from banks, or the owner must use his or her own funds. So this is the amount of capital needed, and then we move on to the risk that is associated with the funding. Also should be taken into consideration. Cost of finance, also period of finance. So these are the factors that needs to be taken into consideration. So on the next question, 4.3, which is on business roles, and define the term conflict. And conflict is defined as a struggle or disagreement between two people or individuals. It can vary from mild difference in opinion to a full-scale win or lose. Emotional confrontational and disagreement. So this is explanation in terms of the term conflict. Conflict distracts employees from their work and needs to be resolved. Of course, there should be uh, a solution to the conflict that will be taking place. Obviously, it will act in the negative direction of the success of the business. So, with that, next question that we have is explain the functions of workplace forums. Of course, in terms of the functions of workplace forums, we need also to come up with the functions of workplace forums. Remember, workplace forums are formed by the employees of a business. So basically, workplace forums are the committees of employees elected by employees at a workplace. So the employees are the ones that elect the committee of employees that represent the workplace forum. So you'd see that they meet employers at a regular basis for consultation on workplace issues. That is the workplace forums. So in terms of the functions, their functions includes creating a positive work culture. They create a positive work culture, and also they contribute to the overall success of the business. Uh, and another point in terms of functions of workplace forum, they promote the interests of all employees in the workplace. They promote the interests of all employees in the workplace. So this is the last part that we have in terms of our question 4. And of course, we need to move on to the next part, which is now question 5 on the essay part. The essay 5 is on a business venture. So of course, we've got information that you're given that you need to go through. That are on the requirements of the essay. Keep the scenario in mind and write an essay in which you include the following. First part, you have to outline the steps to follow when drawing up an action plan. Second part, explain the purpose of a business plan. You also discuss the importance of timelines and grant charts in project planning. Then we go to the additional parts. So on the additional part, you have to advise businesses on the project planning steps. So of course, in terms of our introduction, you can explain in terms of an action plan and a business plan. So this is a typical introduction that you can come up with. And of course, in terms of the first point, an action plan take the ideas from the business plan and breaks them into clear, manageable steps. And then we also have got a business plan is a roadmap that shows the goals of a business and how it plans to reach them. So basically, that's what we have. And looking at an action plan, I would see that this is a detailed plan outlining actions are needed to reach one or more goals. That is an action plan. It is also defined as a sequence of steps. So an action plan is also a sequence of steps uh, that must be taken. Uh, and obviously these are activities that must be performed well for a strategy. So, of course, they fulfill a strategy in terms of the activities that are undertaken under the action plan. So, we are seeing that an action plan is derived from the business plan. So, what starts is the business plan, and then from there, the action plan can be derived and be obviously constructed, being derived from the business plan. So, this is what we have in terms of our introduction. And going back to our question, I would say that on the main part, the first part, we have to outline the steps to follow when drawing up an action plan. So, in terms of the steps, we have the steps as this. The summary of the vision, mission, long-term and short-term goals must be defined. That is, when drawing up an action plan and define the steps you would take to get there. And then start with what must be done first or prioritize. Identify the endpoint for each step. So these are the steps that you need to follow when drawing up an action plan. So we go to the next part of our question. Explain the purpose of a business plan. You need also to explain the purpose of a business plan. So in terms of the purpose of a business plan, you gain insight in the market and competition, obtain funding from investors. So this is the main purpose of a business plan, that is obtain funding from investors. It is usually used as the basis of attaining funding from investors. So also set realistic goals and objectives in terms of purpose of a business plan. Identify the right talent for moving the business vision forward. Make correct decisions and manage the business. So these are some of the purposes that we have for the continuation in terms of the purposes of a business plan. Then, of course, in terms of the next part, discuss the importance of timelines and Gantt charts in project planning. What are the importances of timelines? Uh, the importance of timelines, of course, in business planning. So basically, we have got our explanations. As the first part is these tools help the project staff to project dates and set up plans to achieve set goals in advance. They are vital to project managers as businesses try to meet and exceed client expectations. So project managers use them as tools to get their jobs done. So these are the importance of Gantt charts and WBS and timelines. And of course, we have got our additional part whereby you have to advise businesses on the project planning steps. Uh, what are what should we advise businesses on the project planning steps? So these are the steps that we have defined the scope of the plan to be done. Identify project supporters, break the project down into activities, set time frames, and determine how long each activity takes. Determine accountabilities or person responsible for the decision made. So these are some of the points that we can include on that part. So of course, this is the additional part. This becomes the additional part, and of course, you have to add your essay with a conclusion. So this is a typical conclusion that you can come up with according to our essay on question 5. Question 6 is on business roles. Of course, we've got information given that you need to go through. Then you have to write an essay on team dynamics and conflict management, taking the following into account. Outline the importance of teamwork. That is the first part. Explain the differences between trade unions and workplace forums. Discuss 4 stages of team development. And then all the additional parts, you have to advise businesses on the functions of a workplace forum. So, in terms of our introduction, And this is a typical introduction that we can come up with. And on the first part, we've got importances of teamwork. So this is these are the importances of teamwork that we have. Moving on to differences between trade unions and workplace forums. Then stages of team development. We've got the forming stage. Also forming stage. We've got storming stage again. Then we've got a continuation in terms of the storming stage, which we have a continuation of the storming stage. Then we've got the mourning or the adjournment stage. And of course, for the additional part, we are supposed to have our functions of workplace forums. So these are the functions of workplace forums. And of course, this is a typical conclusion that you can come up with according to our essay. And thank you for listening, and hopefully the video was helpful. And please, let's not forget to subscribe and share to our channel, and share the link to our colleagues who are doing grade 11 business studies. As for this video, I'm signing out.